Hello everyone, welcome to another Music Talk Tuesday, and today I thought it would be interesting to briefly address some songs that are about women and feature women in the title. Um, I thought this would be a very interesting list to put together because I'm not really basing it off of any real, I guess you could say, empowerment. Like, largely that's not my intention really with this list. It's more of a list of songs that feature women in it or a woman in it. So that's largely the premise behind this video, and not necessarily trying to be like, woo, women, we're awesome, or whatever. So without further ado, let me address the first song that I wanted to include on this list, and that is "Oh Pretty Woman" by Roy Orbison. Um, this is probably a very well-known song. I mean, if you look across all of the various songs that have come and gone, especially within the 1960s, it has been featured numerous times in various instances throughout entertainment. It is a really well-recognized song. It definitely received a lot of recognition when it initially was produced. And it's, I think, really interesting and I think important that it sort of did, because it is a rather interesting song and it sort of addresses a woman in a rather interesting way. In this PC correct world, I don't know if a song like this would really fly, but uh, I think the way in which it constructs itself with its instrumentals, its vocals, really does enhance its sort of mood, in particular the sort of sensual mood that it tries to create. But basically, the song is not told through the woman's perspective. It is told through a man's perspective. And basically, the man is singing about coming across a pretty woman. And basically, he's kind of head over heels for her. And he comments on her beauty, but he also touches too upon the inner workings, kind of, I guess you could say, within the woman's mind. At one point, he asks her, "Are you lonely just like me?" You know, it's it's it signals to the audience that he is kind of trying to seek companionship. I mean, he is asking her if he can talk with her, he is trying to kind of woo her. It's not like he's just coming up and, being all, I guess, perverted. I mean, he is really being a genuine guy and being what a guy would really do in this kind of situation. I mean, so it doesn't seem to me that it's trying to play into the whole uh, idea of being very, you know, aggressive at all. I mean, at least from what I can tell. But I think within the very PC world that we have now, this probably wouldn't, I think, fly too well with some people. But to be honest, I think it is an overall beautiful song, and I think the way he says it with his passionate yet sensual voice really puts a stamp on the kind of emotions he's trying to kind of get across to the woman. So it, I think, ultimately works. I mean, I think it is definitely sort of iconic for a reason. I think it's definitely safe to say that this one has remained memorable over the years. And I think it's largely to do with the whole way in which it orchestrates the whole uh, idea of um, pursuing a woman. And it does it in a very uh, charming and somewhat realistic way. And I think that ultimately works to the song's advantage. So it is definitely one worthy of recommendation. And the fact that he would put in the time and investment and energy into the woman and kind of wanting to get to know her somehow shows the kind of uh, way in which he perceives the woman as not just somebody walking across the street. It's somebody unique, at least in his mind. So that's, I think, something that's really interesting and worthy of considering when looking into the song, because a lot of people like to name the song as a catcalling song, which I don't think it is designed to be, and I don't think it is. So it's really a one of a kind and definitely memorable and worthy of recommendation. So that's why it is on this list. Next one I wanted to discuss involves a completely different genre and also obviously a very different kind of singer and musician. Bob Marley's No Woman, No Cry. This song is actually really interesting. It is not told through the woman's perspective. It is told through I would assume a man's perspective, since it's Bob Marley singing, and kind of, singing through his perspective by saying the word I. I believe we call that second person. So basically, the song really ultimately reflects onto growing up in a very poor environment. And in particular, the woman also inhabits this environment with the narrator. Narrator in this case being Bob Marley. And I guess you could say he's the vocalist if he's really supposed to be the narrator singing to somebody. Then that might have been his intention. I'm not entirely sure, but I would assume that that's how it's sort of orchestrated. But basically, he has this woman that's sort of, I guess you could say, part of his life, and she's in these poor conditions with the narrator. And basically, the whole song is just designed to cheer her up and make her feel better about the whole situation that they're kind of in. It kind of gets the impression that it's trying to kind of, make the woman feel strong by, saying you don't need to cry, it's all right, because nothing's going to harm you. Sort of I'm here for you and whatnot. So it really is designed to be a kind of optimistic song, like a lot of Bob Marley songs are. And it is fairly laid back and mellow from what you would expect from a Bob Marley song, but there is a certain amount of oomph and power to it as well. Especially when he's singing about the poor conditions, like, when he's saying I remember, he's putting a lot of emphasis on these certain words, especially the parts where he's talking about the woman not telling her not to cry. Basically, he's really enunciating those parts to, I think, really get the point across that these are very difficult circumstances to be in. But the important thing is that we don't give up our strength and power. And so he's kind of, I think, trying to draw that strength to the woman by saying, no, cry. It's there's no point in crying. Now, people might be confused because it says no woman, no cry. Basically, no, at least from the research that I gathered up, um, is actually sort of pronounced "nuh," like in Jamaican, like Nuh, and it's supposed to be a term for don't. So he's not saying no woman no cry, he's saying woman don't cry. So he's giving off a different message than maybe what initially people think. Because some people might think, oh, she's not crying because she's somehow strong, but really it's just it's telling her not to put herself in that position. Excuse me. So I think that's rather interesting because uh, usually um, Bob Marley songs, at least from what I have looked up, although they're optimistic, they're fairly general or specific to one person. But for this song, it's nice to see him doing some kind of um, direct encouragement, so to speak, to somebody. Because usually his other songs are reflect, or at least reflect onto different things, and it's nice to see him kind of, try to lift up a specific person, and in this case being a woman, by telling her that it's going to be all right, and kind of giving her that power and strength to carry on. And I think that ultimately works, and you really do feel uh, that kind of uh, approach really handled well throughout the song with its vocals and its lyrics by, lifting somebody up and giving them a sense of hope. So that's all I can say though about that song. Third song that I want to talk about is Hard Headed Woman by Elvis Presley. Now, this one has a fairly catchy beat and is a lot of fun, and you do want to dance to it. It has that Elvis, I guess you could say, gravitas to it. But the interesting thing about this song is how it addresses a hard-headed woman. It basically states that hard-headed women have always been the kind of the problem of men throughout the ages, basically, or ever since the Earth existed, or as long as there's been humans. And they've kind of been a pain and difficult to deal with and a trouble. And in order to kind of emphasize his point, he uses biblical stories. So he talks about Adam and Eve. I believe Delilah is also another one that is another story, I believe, that's from the Bible that's mentioned. So he uses all these various stories to kind of show you, see how much of a problem they hard-headed women could be. But what I like about this song is you don't have to take it too seriously. It's very fun. It doesn't try to be serious. It doesn't try to, tug at your heartstrings all that much. It's just a funny, goofy kind of song about, the troubles that sometimes women can cause. And I obviously, as being a woman myself, I understand that I'm not perfect, and maybe I can be a little hard-headed sometimes, but I don't mean to be, a bad person. So I think that's really what the song entails. It's not trying to, I think, be insulting or to downgrade a woman in any way. It's just trying to be fun and trying to kind of almost, I think, tell women, don't take this seriously. And understand this is exaggeration. Um, Even though there might be some elements that are true, and I think it's important that we recognize those flaws as well, and kind of laugh at them too, and understand, yeah, I don't know, I'm not perfect. It's okay, but I make mistakes, and yeah, I probably can be a little bit of a burden sometimes, but I try to be better, and I try to be a good person overall. So I think that's really ultimately, at least from what I get out of the song, although there might be some people who disagree, I think overall it's fun and it's engaging and it's interesting to listen to, and it's trying to be relatively simplistic and not really be all too in depth or too serious in its approach. But that's ultimately all I think I can say about that song. Um, the fourth song that I wanted to mention is also titled Hard Headed Woman by Cat Stevens. Now, this song is even though it has the same title, is completely different from the Elvis version. Different lyrics, different instrumentals, different vocals, everything. Like, it does not in one shape or form sound in any shape or form sound like the Elvis song. And it also has a completely different interpretation of what a hard-headed woman is. For example, in the Elvis song, obviously it is addressed that hard-headed women are trouble. But the way Cat Stevens interprets it, he even claims within the song that he wants a hard-headed woman. um, and the funny thing though is that this song is also a little hard to interpret. On the one hand, it could mean the hard-headed woman is someone who's genuine, who's maybe not perfect, but maybe willing to go the extra mile. Something of meaning, I think, is really what he's entailing with this hard-headed woman um, figure that he creates. Is that he wants something genuine. He wants something that's real, and not something that's kind of superficial or, um, fake, so to speak. And I think that there is a lot of truth in that, because I think, generally speaking, people like one another based on deeper, uh, based on a deeper level uh, than the way we see everybody else. Um, so I think obviously that's something that's really important to understand when it comes to this song. But as far as its exact interpretation of what a hard-headed woman is, and her characteristics, it's really not explained throughout the song. But I sort of kind of like that it leaves certain parts of it open to interpretation. But I think in a general sense, it is someone who is, I think, uh, really genuine, and at the same time is someone that brings, I guess, meaning really to his life. So that's largely, I think, what the song really entails. It's trying to be a little bit more serious. It's a lot calmer and fairly soothing throughout. Um, you just kind of have Cat Stevens with his guitar, and although he emphasizes maybe certain words, points, you can tell that there is still a lot of, I guess you could say, beauty and heart to what he's ultimately describing. So you can take it for what it's worth, but I think it's definitely a song that is worthy of recommendation. Uh, and lastly, this one I thought was just one of those fun kind of goofy songs about women that kind of it wants you to, it makes you want to get up and dance it at the same time, you know. You just kind of want to be sort of sassy at the same time. And that's I'm Every Woman by, and there was the cover by Whitney Houston, but I'm referring to the original Chaka Khan, I believe is how you pronounce her name. But basically, throughout this song, she's describing how she is every woman. I'm every woman. It's all in me. So basically, what that means is that she's capable of doing things for other people. Specifically you, whoever you is out there. And basically, I think this song also kind of is intended to describe the idea of women being able to be kind of whoever they really want to be, sort of as long as, you know, they're a representation of themselves being a woman, so to speak. So, like, you know, she doesn't have any, like, limitations, you know. It's like she can do it, you know, so to speak. As long as she finds it sort of within herself to do it, sort of she's like what a woman can do, she can do, and what any woman can do, she can do. So it's kind of that. I guess you could almost say it's on a level of empowerment, but I don't think it's designed to really look down at the opposite gender. I think it's just about her being proud of what she can give, you know, what she can do, what she's capable of. I think that's really what ultimately the song entails, and it's, I don't think, trying to be mean-spirited or rude or condescending in any way. So it's rather enjoyable for those reasons. And almost the way that it approaches itself, it's very flashy. You almost feel like it's something out of a genie, like a woman is a genie somehow. And then she can grant you any wish that you want, and she's capable of doing all these amazing things, you know, and she has all of this potential and blah blah blah. So it's kind of interesting in that respect, and a lot of fun and as well. And also, I think it's really a song that is designed to not take itself too seriously. It's just supposed to be fun. It's not trying to be it's not trying to be philosophical. It's not trying to you know, be overly in your face. It's just kind of trying to be sort of celebratory, and saying, I'm every woman. It's all in me. I can't do her voice to save my life. But yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say about all these songs. Her, and also, by the way, the vocals of the last song that I mentioned, she really hammers those down really well, so that obviously helps. But yeah, those are ultimately all the songs that I have for this list. However, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be sure to put links below to all the songs. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care.